Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Enthador. I'm Marcus Aurelius, and this is actually going to be a historical episode. I've been asked a couple times to produce one, so I went in, I turned DF Hack back on, and I was able to export the history since after the last episode you've seen. Then I immediately turned it back off again, but regardless, we are going to talk about some Dwarven history today, and one thing I just noticed right now is that one of the dead elven civilizations is the Mountain of Drink. And I think I know why they're all dead. They probably drank themselves to an early grave. That is too bad, although my dwarves would love such a fate, I'm sure. But with regards to history, let's talk quickly about the history of Lostknowledge, the recent history, because if you watch the previous episodes, you will have noticed that I mentioned when we were attacked by a giant that if I, Marcus, was someone of artistic talent, I would depict that giant rampaging around chasing after a duck, but unfortunately I could not. Well, from out of the mists comes yet another dwarven hero, a gentleman by the name of Issy, who drew the image that you see in front of you of the giant and the duck. And it is a fantastic image, and I really love how in this series people from the community are contributing. It means a lot to me, especially because I don't have any talent myself. So thank you very, very much. And it is awesome, Issy, and I'm glad you're enjoying the show. And stick with us. I really appreciate it. All right, so moving quite along, let's take a look at the Oaken Flags, which, by the way, is now one of the weaker Dwarven societies. Only the Factional Saber and the Salves of Worth have less population, though we are on top. Oh, no, we're not. What am I saying? That's the Armors of Charm with 55 buildings. We only have 34 towns. So actually, with the exception of the Salves of Worth, we also have the lowest amount of, I guess, fortresses, mountain homes, whatever you want to call them. Okay, and look at, here's Forest Home, or Lostknowledge, all the way up here, so far away from our ancestral lands. O'Neill Mountain Whip is still the king, has been the king since 119. Still, we have Krug Smash, Julius Caesar, and Fulgar Gore Smash in the nobles area. But what I want to look at is what's been going on recently, and you will all be happy to know, I'm sure, that the two dwarven fortresses of Sandpillar and Forest Home, Sandpillar retired in 156, so it lasted 6 years, essentially. Forest Home lasted 10 years, from 156 to 166. Lostknowledge is now at year 172, so we're already 6 years into it. So we're as old in Lostknowledge as we were in Sandpillar when it was retired, which is amazing to me because I felt like Sandpillar went on for a while. I mean, we dug that entire pit. We did so much. It's amazing to me that it only lasted 6 years. But we're at that point now in Lostknowledge. But first, let's look at Sandpillar. So, Sandpillar, unfortunately, because the game kind of bugs out when you retire a fortress, I guess it doesn't really expect that you're going to start another fortress in the same world. Not a lot happens when you leave. As you can see here, the last time they were attacked was in 169, which was after we left it, certainly, but the attacks are very rare. And it looks like it is now only 26 dwarves of our civilization actually live in Sandpillar, including one human. All the rest are dwarf, human, and elf visitors, and of course our two Forgotten Beast outcasts. Now again, while Sandpillar is still considered part of the Oaken Flags, it is not considered active in the sense it doesn't show up on the map. I don't think they get immigration of any kind. So it's basically been sitting there from 156, which makes me worry a little bit about Lostknowledge because we don't have a tavern. And what it appears happens is after I retire a fortress, it gets filled up with visitors from the tavern, and they're the ones who defend it. So I might have to build a tavern in Lostknowledge at some point. But regardless, nothing has happened in terms of unknown beasts since we left. 318 historical figures have died at the site, which seems like quite a lot to me. It doesn't list them out, which is weird, because in some it does. But regardless, the only thing I want to note is, I guess, nothing in Sandpillar. But if we go over now to Forest Home, Alright, Forest Home still stands as well, They have not been attacked since we retired it. And it has a population of 60 dwarves and 2 goblins for some reason. Must be in the tavern. They became citizens. Probably the troop that I allowed at some point. But there's 172 dwarf visitors, 38 human visitors, 3 goblin visitors, and 1 elf visitor. So, obviously, our native-born, or not native-born, but our Oaken Flag's population of Forest Home has gone down substantially. Many of them have moved to Lostknowledge. We do have 2 giant grizzly bears, which I'm very proud of. There were, however, some rampages. Well, 166, I think that's actually when we left. Yeah. 111 historical figures have died. Gosh, where did I find this? Maybe the Bloody War with the Mangi Spider. Okay, this is a war that's been going on between the Mangi Spider and the Oaken Flags. It kind of looks crazy here. The Mangi Spider has branched out a bit. Or maybe these are attacks to Forest Home. I'm not sure where this is going, though. And definitely don't know where this is going. The maps are kind of hard to read because this square here is only this square here. So if you want to like move this around... Oh, I guess you can't. But they went and they established gutter holes, the Murk of Scintillating, a cave way over here. Over here they have a forest retreat, I guess, that they took over with the 39 elves living there. And here is a hamlet they took over. So they're branching out, definitely, I guess you could say. But regardless, the reason why I pulled up the Bloody War, because I wanted to... Well, it looks like overall our fight with the Mangi Spider, they had 191 kills, we've had 151. We've had 3, or they've had 3 battle victories, we've had 44. But they've been able to conquer 3 of our towns. We haven't conquered anything. But that's not really what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for... Well, this will show you. I don't know how I found it the first time, but in 169, Cubsy, who was one of our named dwarves, was struck down by the dwarf Sodell Tome Station, the Sweet Lobster, in Sandpillar. So it wasn't Sandpillar that Cubsy went down. That's the only named dwarf that has gone down, quote-unquote, off-camera. It was the Scalded Assaults. So the Mangi Spider attacked with a force, but the only one who was notable was Sodell Tome's Talon, the Sweet Lobster, who was a dwarf, actually, must have been kidnapped and raised with the goblins. And we lost 10 members, but they're mostly visitors. There was a human, there was a dwarf, but a visiting dwarf. There was, wow, the Grisly Knives of Obeisance. That's cool. There was a goblin. So a goblin died fighting the goblins at Sandpillar. That's pretty cool. Another dwarf. There was a visitor. Another dwarf visitor. But then there's Cubsy. So Cubsy... Where are you, Cubsy? Cubsy is the son of Winged and Kivish Torchsave, who is not one of our dwarves. In fact, Winged is Cubsy's only real named relative here. But they are able to trace their ancestry back to the former king, the lumbering troll Mebzuth Mirrored Relieved. And another lumbering troll, that's cool. Okay, but I want to go down, please, thank you. Okay, married to Dreadlock Mohawk, but that's also it. Friends with numerous dwarves. But I want to see here, okay. So, Cubsy was an administrator before coming to our civilization, or to our fortress, at Bell's Knives. Cubsy got married to Dreadlock Mohawk in 150. Cubsy left, I guess, Bell's Knives, and settled in Sandpillar. That was in 153. And then he stayed there the whole time, and in the early spring of 169, he was struck down by the dwarf Sodell Tome's Talon, the Sweet Lobster, in the Scalded Assault. So let's look a little bit about Sodell. So Sodell also is related to Mebzuth Mirrored Relieved. Sodell is actually a bard who was the son of an axe woman and a woodworker. Here we go, though. The grandson of Logan Stonehilt. Finally, one of our named dwarves makes an appearance here. Okay. Currently lives at Terror Wishes. Well, yeah, I guess he's still alive. That's right. Killed 12 beings. some of which are dwarves, some of which are not. He actually, after killing Cubsy, he also killed another dwarf and 2 humans, probably at the same time. Yeah, he was abducted as a child from Band Standard by Bosa Perfect Curse and joined the Hateful Seduction. He's been in and out of Hellhide and Blackchained, which seems to be 2 places that many of our kidnapped dwarves go to. But he did die. In 169 early spring, Sodel was struck down by the Forgotten Beast Ansgek Hellfiend in the Hill of Snakes. This was part of the Bloody War. This was part of the Scalded Assaults. That's weird. So a Forgotten Beast took him down, not at Sandpillar, though, but just somehow out in the wilderness, and they're saying that this was part of the war. We have a named pig, Aerith Swordvised. Anyway, interesting. So Cubsy is our only casualty off camera, but now we're going to go to Lostknowledge. Okay, we have the Mythical Chapel, but that's just our kind of makeshift temple till we have the real one. And we are fighting the Routed War with the Dungeon of Urging. And we also have been rampaged 5 times. A lot of rampages. Now, here's something strange. Remember when the engraving on the pillar said that there was a werebeast that drowned? And I was like, that doesn't make sense because I distinctly saw that we killed him. Well, this is claiming that in the same year, 168, we were actually attacked by 2 different werebeasts. Now, Tekwill is the one who actually made it inside our fortress and the one that was killed by Juris Fathog. But this guy here, Ned Homesneaked, just drowned. And I know nothing about it. It just said he drowned. He didn't do anything. Like, he just showed up and drowned at Lostknowledge. That's it. He devoured a human and scaled nourishes. Let's see how far away that is from Lostknowledge. That is pretty far. I mean, that's way up here in the north of the world. So I don't know what happened there. But we lost, or we took out 2, somehow, Forgotten Beasts. So you see how in this one, for the active fortress, it tells us how many deaths and tells you who they were? I wish it would do that for Sandpillar and Forest Home too. But as you can see, we've faced some casualties. Red Fairface was the first to go in 167, followed by the 2 werebeasts and the giant, who we'll look at in a second. Cavan Metal Basher died due to infection in 171. So actually, we were pretty... From the moment we settled the place in 166 to 171, we only lost 1 named dwarf. Then we lost Cavan, though. Then Dweezil in 171 of Thirst. We did take out Zuspo, Dung's Cave, the Fins of Ooze. Zuspo took out Yatine. Then in 171, Henzi died of thirst. Dead Awesome, Nenton, and Dullenwen all were struck. That was during the last Goblin invasion in 172. And then a ton of other... Goblins were taken out. These goblins are probably worthy of being here. The reason why they probably are listed is because they had killed one of these 4 dwarves, and as a result became a historical figure. And so then when we killed them, it noted it. And finally, Stroud died of thirst. I think Stroud was trying to do an artifact and ran out of materials, unfortunately. So already we have kind of a pretty hefty death count here in Lostknowledge. But there's no point in looking at the event logs. It just goes on forever. But let's look at the Routed War. So, as you can see here, their civilization is down here to the southwest of us, and they're coming up to the northeast to attack us. This is the Dungeon of Urging. The Mangi Spider has decided to leave us alone. I'm not sure if you can be attacked by 2 different civilizations at once, but I doubt it. It just appears from everything I see that you're not able to do that. You can't trade with more than one either. So even though we're closer to some other dwarven civilizations besides the Oaken Flags, they're not showing up. And we can only trade with 1 elf group, and so on and so forth. But the Dungeon of Urging has killed 4 of our dwarves. They haven't won anything, though. We've killed 11 goblins. More than that, really, but 11 notable goblins. We've had 3 victories. Because they're not including the rest of our civilization. They're just including the fortresses that we control. And let's see. Yeah, they've just been attacking us, and we've just been putting them down. And I guess we're going to continue to do that. Although they are attacking quite a lot. Like, normally I'm used to goblin sieges maybe once a year. These guys are coming seasonally, and that's really hurting us because we're not able to farm and get any food. We're having some real trouble, actually, which you'll see in the next episode. So let's take a look at the history of the giant. Stazos Control Hail, the famous persuasion. So Stazos was born in -287, so before recorded time. Lived almost more than 400 years, almost 500 years, and was taken out by Ingermish Redbeard Boltwinds, the Bodices of Glazing. Well, that's quite the name. So this was a female, so it was a giantess. She's associated with food and strength. She wasn't really an enemy of our civilization. Rather, she was an enemy of... Is this goblins or elves? I think this was goblins. She wasn't really good at anything either. She was just dabbling at most combat skills. She did kill 3 elves in her life, but many, many years ago. Like, there was a good almost 40 years between her last kill and when she attacked our fortress, so she was a bit out of practice. She also only did 1 rampage in 102 in Wind Warmth, which is an elven forest retreat way up here in the northwest in the jungles. So anywho, she came to... So yeah, it was 37 years since she last struck down an elf in Moonshadows, which is a cave, or it's in the Forest of Shade way up here. So she was up here for a while, but somehow in the past 30 years, she decided to come to the southeast, to the Evil Ocean that we are close to. But she did not live long. She was struck down by Ingermish Redbeard. And it also names his weapon, which is awesome. Clean Haunts the Dimpled Constructs. And you can see here, Clean Haunts the Dimpled Constructs, or Lekadumur Storlotuban, was a legendary silver warhammer. And it was instrumental in striking down Stasaz, and also it was instrumental in striking down Zolak Stricken Terrors, and that's really it. But it got its name in 172. So after killing the giant and the goblin, Ingermish decided to name his silver warhammer and Clean Haunts the Dimpled Constructs. That's pretty cool. So that was our giant. With regards to our forgotten beasts, we had Yatine, who was born in -272. She was associated with caverns and murder, which is quite relevant, I suppose, because she was murdered in a cavern. And she began wandering the depths of the world in the time before time, and she was struck down by Zuspo, Dung's Cave, the Fins of Ooze, in a battle royale, which then leads us to Zuspo, who is associated with caverns, depravity, and water. And he's an enemy with the Everlasting Tombs and the Armors of Charm, and I guess now the Oaken Flags as well. Was able to manage to kill 3 dwarves over his career, and finally the Forgotten Beast Yatine, who wounded him enough so that our dwarves, specifically Nexus Lay, was able to kill Zuspo in 172 mid-spring. Nexus Lay is, Ghost Beekeeper, Cavan Metal Basher. That's cool, his little ghost picture. Starved Troll. Interesting family tree you got there, Nexus Lay. You are the daughter of Duthug and the daughter of Thornton. Those are our only named dwarves, however. But you do have a son, Nomal Salvescratch. I wonder where Nomal is. We'll check on him in just a moment. Your best relationship is with Bullzome, who you are friendly with a lot. And then Bearcat, Son of Zephon, and Kratos Shadowban. I guess being over 100 is pretty friendly. Do you have any enemies? Holy moly, you know everyone. No. The person you liked the least, well, of our named dwarves is Half here. Half Tomeskins, who you are friendly with. Who is Half? Where does Half live? Half is married to Dead Awesome. So is Half in Lostknowledge? Yeah, member of the Scribe of Destiny. Looks like in 171, Half came to the Oaken Flags and became a member of the Scribe of Destiny in Lostknowledge. That was just a year ago. Cool. And unfortunately, Half lost her spouse, Dead Awesome, to the Goblin attack. So Half is probably not doing... Or, actually, I'm sorry. Half is a male. Half lost his wife, Dead Awesome, who wanted to create a great work of art, but unfortunately could not. Now, on the other hand, Dead Awesome wasn't really that great friends with anybody. The highest friend was with Moonbeams, who he was friendly with at a level of 46, which isn't much at all. Although, then again, Half doesn't have that many friends either. Lord Stone is his best friend at a friendly level of 31. So I'm not sure why Nexus Lay is so friendly. Maybe because Nexus Lay started off in a different fortress and has had time to make friends. It's possible. So those were our 2 Forgotten Beasts. I don't really care much about our Werebeasts, because they don't really have good histories. But let's see. Let's look at the Goblins that we killed. Like Bax Living Hells, who was crushed by a bridge. So Bax is a female, actually, and her goal is to maintain entity status. So I guess that means she wants to continue being a member of the Dungeon of Urging. And she doesn't have much to say about her, honestly. The only thing notable about her entire life was her death. That's a shame. She probably didn't exist until she didn't kill anybody, so I wonder why she became notable in the first place. Let's take a look here. Like Dullenwen. Who killed Dullenwen? Nako Devil Jaundiced. Okay, so Nako got away. He killed Dullenwen and then managed to escape. He's a pike goblin. He's actually really old. He was born in -19. I didn't know goblins could get that old. I know dwarves die of old age all the time. Poor Dullenwen. So Dullenwen had a son she left behind, Zolban, Moistened Work. I wonder if Zolban is in our fortress. Zolban's goal is to rule the world. Holy moly. Zolban... No! Zolban is a prisoner of the goblins. He was abducted from Roughness Trailed. So before the couple even made it to Lostknowledge, their son was abducted, imprisoned by the Hateful Seductions. That's a whole different... Oh wait, no, that's a Mangi Spider group. So yeah. Oh, that is too bad. So not only was she killed by the goblins of the Dungeon of Urging, but her son has now joined the Mangi Spider against his will, kind of Stockholm Syndrome, and is now fighting against our civilization. That's so sad. I wish we could lead an expedition to recover him, but it's probably too late. He's probably already been brainwashed. So let's see, the Onslaught of Barbs. Okay, that's the most recent battle. Zolak, who led the attack, died. Well, that's wonderful. We lost 3. I think we've already seen them. Dullenwen was one of them, certainly. I don't know who Dodok is. Dodok, Clasp, Fancied, or Normal... Normal Portal Grey. Who are these people? You can see all of our citizens, though. Okay, so yeah, Dead Awesome, Dullenwen. Let's look at Dead Awesome. So Dead Awesome was a female as well. She was a merchant. She wanted to create a great work of art. She was killed by Esther Scorchclinched. She worships Thull. She's married to Half. Wait, I thought Dullenwen was married to Half. Sorry, guys, I got a little discombobulated there. It happens. So let's look at our third dead dwarf. Where is that dwarf? There we go. Nenton. Alright, Nenton. Nenton's mother was a papermaker, and his father smelled of elderberries. I don't know. Master of skill, born in 77. Killed by Ngoso Lobster Hated. Guess he really hates lobsters. Nenton worshipped Athser, the blanketed cover, pretty well, actually. Nenton was not related to any named dwarves, but was very friendly with Skeletorzar at a level of 100. Nenton also had lots of friends. So he was a member of every single one of our fortresses. He started off at Sandpillar with the Flag of Striking, then he went to the Tree of Wildness with the Oaken Flags, and then he joined the Scribe of Destiny, and then he died. Poor guy. Yeah, he became a bowyer and soldier machines. Where's that? Okay, that's way down in the south near our capital there. Wish I would remember where I was, so I don't have to do this each time. Okay, and then he left his civilization group, the Lost Pulley. He left the Oaken Flags, but then joined the Oaken Flags again by settling in Sandpillar, where he created Covered Molten, an artifact weapon. Wow. Covered Molten was a legendary carambola wood crossbow. Doesn't say who wields it, though, unfortunately. Alright, so then, after making an artifact crossbow, he left Sandpillar to join us in Forest Home, where he didn't do much, I guess. He just kind of hung out. Maybe he was unassigned, I'm not sure. And then he left there in 170, so that was 8 years. He spent 8 years in Forest Home, left in 170 and joined the Tree of Wildness, or sorry, joined the Oaken Flag's Scribe of Destiny in Lost Knowledge in 170. He lasted there for 2 years and unfortunately then died by Negoso Lobster-hated. Male Goblin Mace Goblin wants to maintain entity status, member of the Dungeon of Urging. The only notable thing Ngoso ever did was to kill Nenton. And Ngoso is still at large. Hopefully Ngoso will come back to Lost Knowledge so we have an opportunity to get revenge for that death. So that's where we are, folks. Let's quickly look at the map of the world just to kind of get a notion of what's going on. As you can see, there are wars everywhere, especially the elves. The elves, I've noticed, like to really stretch themselves out. Like this civilization here has like a cave they own way over here. Or actually, that's a forest retreat. The Nightmares of Obscurity, which is a unrelated goblin civilization, they own this cave all the way down here. But here's our Oaken Flags. The Mangi Spider is not as strong as it once was. The Dungeon of Urging is pretty strong. That's them right here. So but let's just take a quick look. We started this in 166, right? Alright, so since we founded this fortress, let's zoom in a little bit more and see what's happened in the world, especially with our civilization. So first off, Forest Home was taken away, even though it technically is still part of the civilization, but otherwise not much is going on. Okay, looks like the humans are expanding kind of down here. Looks like the humans and the Mangi Spider apparently are fighting each other, and the humans were able to take one of the Mangi Spider's towns. Looks like that war is still going on in 170. Uh-oh, but it looks like the humans are having a rough time. Actually, the Mangi Spider's having a rough time too. What's going on here? Yeah! By 172, the Mangi Spider has been completely obliterated around here, and instead they're just in this little river valley where they started. Look. They had all this territory, and it's all gone. Guess the humans are coming to our aid. The Oaken Flags are standing proud. In fact, let's take a quick look at the Oaken Flags as a civilization. I just want to see if anything's happened with them that didn't have to do with me. So the conflict of threatening with the Mangi Spider, that's 169 to present. It's the Evil of Rocks. It's not a very goblin-y name. Should be a dwarven name, actually, but it looks like they've been able to kill 4 dwarves and win 1 victory, though it didn't serve them any good, and the Oaken Flags, unfortunately, have faced the sad part of that. It looks like they attacked the snarling post of the Oaken Flags at Clasp Clinch, which is, okay, here. So not too far from the capital, actually. They got really close to the capital. And it looks like we lost a few dwarves. Astesh, Zon, and Kadol. They all were taken out. All by the same goblin, Kalur Leaderslode. Now, Kalur was born in -25, crossbow goblin. 4 dwarven deaths. That should be enough to make him notable. But that's the only thing he's ever done that was notable. So that's that, ladies and gentlemen. Not much has changed. The Mangi Spider seems to be taking it pretty hard. But that's not stopping them from continuing the pressure on our beloved Oaken Flags. Looks like the humans kind of helped out here. Now they're kind of relocated, although they still have these dark pits down here near our capital. And they still have this dark fortress here. But otherwise, all of our hillocks or whatever towns they were able to occupy have been left as ruins. And here we are. In Lost Knowledge. Living it up, building a library, storing all of the dwarven wisdom of the ages. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Marcus Aurelius. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. I'd also like to thank Issy again for that lovely drawing of the giant and the duck. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a good one.